We are the Talking Blues podcast.
Oh
I love that you do like a different one every time.
yeah, there's no way I'm gonna remember my ramblings.
Yeah, this is hilarious.
I'll cut them all together at one point, just make a full 3-minute song of it.
Just make a song of the intro stuff. Songs portable makes.
It's just be a weird random gibberish rap song.
So put some jazz behind it, it'd be like your scat.
So what's the topic this time, Zoth?
The topic this time is top 5 novel series.
Definition of novel.
I believe the definition for a novel is like 200 plus words to get it to be a novel and not a novella. And series meaning has to have at least 2 books in it.
Ah.
This is your spoiler warning. We will try to stay away from spoiling major points, but we might spoil parts of what we are talking about.
Since it was your thing, you start first, right?
I think we've been forcing you to start first every time.
What? I thought, what? I'm pretty sure the logic last time was, you start, you came up with the idea, and then so you do it. I could go first.
That was the logic, but technically, we have only done 2 in the new series, and you've gone first both times.
Damn it. That's...
Yeah, we've been going Yjui and me each time.
This time... Oh, but this one makes me embarrassed to go first. See, I came up with like 4 book series. It was really hard coming up with 5. I came up with 4, and I just read them a long time ago.
Yeah, I have that problem with some of mine too. It's like I read them so long ago that I don't remember every detail of them.
Like I just watch anime now. I don't have time to read new books. I've listened to some audiobooks.
You listen to them subbed or dubbed?
Wait, did you say listen to?
Yeah, your anime subbed or dubbed.
Oh, I read subtitles.
Yeah, there you go. You're reading novels every time you watch an episode.
Oh, well, I mean, if that counts, I have 200 something for you to choose from. So I did read this book series. God, I have read the Twilight books.
That is on your list.
That is on my list. That's on my list. That's my number 5.
I'm not gonna hate. Sell me on it. Let me hear it.
Listen, no, I don't want to sell you on it. I don't want to sell you on it.
It's your number 5.
I had nothing else for number 5, but I have read this. It was entertaining enough for me to read and go through, you know, when I had nothing else.
What were you? Are you Edward or Jacob?
Oh my god. I didn't even think about that.
Could you not?
Honestly, in the end, like living forever, probably vampire, or living longer than normal. And you can at least choose when you would go, right? Even if you sparkle in the sunlight like a Christmas ornament, right?
Christmas ornaments are very known for sparkling in the sunlight.
Yeah, they glimmer.
I mean, they are sparkly. I will give them that.
I'm not. God, do I have to describe the books? Who doesn't know?
I think most people will understand what Twilight is at this point, and if not, you're probably dodging a bullet anyways.
Yeah, I mean, either they know what it is or they've dodged the bullet of not knowing what it is.
There's a vampire, there's a werewolf who's not actually a werewolf, he's a shapeshifter. There's a difference.
I agree with that.
If you, cause he doesn't transform on a full moon, he just transforms at will. And I didn't realize that until I learned, I can't remember if it was in the books or if I read the backstory stuff. But yeah, there's this girl, she gets in the middle of like a love relationship between a vampire and the shapeshifter, and a lot of battles take place and weird stuff happens, and that's all you need to know, really. If that sounds up your alley, go for it. First book is called Twilight, I believe.
I think so, and I was annoyed at Goodreads the other day because it recommended me the book.
I'm surprised it's still recommending them.
I mean, it's not the worst series in the world, I guess.
Well, they're popular for a reason.
Yeah, I've also watched the movies. Like, those were entertaining to watch, you know, just to watch.
Do you have any more to say for your number 5 side?
No, please no. I'm good.
Are the books better than the movies?
I mean, the books are usually always better because they always have more stuff in them, you know? They always have the more detail and backstory and extra things and scenes and...
So, are you saying that the books are better than the movies?
Yes.
Okay, so Yjui, let's leave this in the dust. You're number 5.
My number 5 is, I think the series is called the Underland Chronicles. It is written by Suzanne Collins, which is the lady who also wrote the Hunger Games. She wrote these books before the Hunger Games. It's a children's fantasy novel. Oh, not children's, like young adult fantasy novel. Published in like 2003, 2007 is like when they were made. It's about a little boy, or I think he's like 13-ish, who, if I remember correctly, falls down a vent in his laundromat and ends up in like underground, under New York City. And it's like either he shrinks or there's very large cockroaches and like rats and stuff down there, and there's a race of humans that have been down there for like hundreds of years, and they're like in a war with like the rats, and all those, they talk and everything, like they can communicate, and it's just a good isekai, you know. He falls into a different world, and then he has to fulfill some prophecies that are down there, like the human race that is down there is like, hey, you're lining up pretty well with these prophecies here, and the books are like pretty much like all about like war and what, but like, yeah.
That definitely sounds interesting. I've not heard of that.
They're like young adults, so like they're pretty easy reads, just kind of like breeze through. They're a good time.
Definitely, young adult novels are normally a nice cozy read.
I feel like they're underrated because Suzanne Collins is definitely like more known for Hunger Games, but like I don't think I've ever come across anybody who realizes that she's written a series before the Hunger Games.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've never heard of this series, so my number 5 is The Fear Street Relaunch by R.L. Stine, which he started in 2014. Fans convinced him to start writing Fear Street books again, which he hadn't wrote since like the late 90s, early 2000s. And the short little horror stories, well, I say short, though, like the relaunch is like 300 pages per book, between 200 and 300 pages per book, which is why I was able to put this one on, because I tell you, R.L. Stine does not normally write long stuff.
Yeah, his books are pretty thin.
Yeah, it's because of me saying novel, I could not put Goosebumps or the original Fear Street series on here, which are two of my favorite series. But though these are like one-off horror stories, for the most part one-off, 200 to 300 pages, and all of the horror just happens to happen in a singular town. And I've read a couple books of the relaunch, but they haven't interconnected like the old Fear Street books did, because they used to connect together. Like you'd see characters who are main characters and other ones as side characters in different stories and whatnot. But yeah, I just like the town, I like the stories as well, they're pretty interesting, and I'm a big R.L. Stine fan.
R.L. Stine is good. I don't know if it's still ongoing, but he had to help write a comic series that I've been reading.
Oh, awesome.
I think it's called Stuff with Nightmares. I'd have to double check that, but it's been pretty solid. Pretty good read.
Wait, that sounds like it could be the name of it.
Yeah.
So, in case whose number 5 are you voting?
Yuji's.
Okay, Yjui, what's number 5 are you voting for?
I would definitely go R.L. Stine
Thank God.
over Twilight.
Yes.
Okay, since my options are Twilight or Yuji's one, I gotta go with Yuji's one. I forget the name of
The
it.
Underland Chronicles. I don't think that's the name. I should have looked it up, but I don't think the names of the books are ever called the Underland Chronicles, but that's in the series name.
And I also want you to message me that name later so I can look into them.
Yeah, I think you would like them. They're pretty solid.
Are we gonna start a book club?
Maybe.
I'd be down. I'm a slow reader though, so it'd probably take me like way longer than the rest of you to read.
Yeah, I've been slowly making my way through a book of the Cthulhu Mythos by Lovecraft. I've been reading it for like 2 months and I'm only 40 pages in.
Every time I try to read Lovecraft, it takes me like literally like all night to read one page because I'm like rereading it, trying to figure out what thing I'm reading.
Oh, the bottom is he wrote in an old style back when he was around, so it was even an old style for the time. But, no, it's hard. It's a hard read. Yeah. So Portable, you're number 4.
Oh yes, number 4. Amazing fantasy. I have a lot of fantasy books actually. Pendragon.
Oh.
I knew this would be on your list somewhere.
I mean, I'm curious if any of our stuff overlaps because we have read some of the same books a long time ago.
Yeah, I know I borrowed all your copies of this series in order to read it.
Pendragon. Oh God, how do I explain this?
It's gonna be a hard explain.
I think I can do it. So a young boy is just having a normal life, and suddenly he's whisked away by his uncle into quite a journey. There is this other dude, I guess you could say an evil dude trying to chase you down and stop you, who can turn into people as well. You and your uncle, well, your uncle tries. The boy is confused just as much as the reader for the most part, and he drags the boy into a portal, and they both get teleported away into a different land. And basically, isn't it a spoiler? Because it is the entire. I guess it's a spoiler, but basically, the boy is traveling through like 10 or so different worlds, trying to stop this evil man.
Like, aren't each of the worlds at a turning point as well, and they need to have the turning point go in a good way? I feel like that was a...
Possibly, it's been a long time, but yeah, that makes sense. That's important for it to go in the right way, or if it goes into turmoil, then it's kind of lost forever. I think a lot of these are that evil dude's doing as well.
Yeah, I feel like he's trying to steal them in that way.
Yeah, well, I would be going through the entire plot if I say every little detail like that. It's hard to explain, but it's an exciting read once you get into it, because you don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know if he's going to survive, and there are some very hairy things happening.
Some more werewolves?
What? No. Well, no. No werewolves this time.
I don't think there's any vampires either.
Well, vampires aren't hairy.
I would say one thing I also remember finding interesting with it is the book is written in first and third person because he's sending, I think through a wing, he's sending notes back to his best friend.
Yeah.
And that's like, we're getting his side of the story in the notes, and his best friend's also doing stuff in their world. I don't remember exactly what they did, but...
Yeah, well...
You don't get many books written in first and third person. It's normally they pick one or the other.
Yeah, they switch around a lot. Pretty much the main story is him in the letters that he sends back to his friends on planet Earth. And yeah, it gets crazier, but it gets more crazy.
It does. I remember a world full of four follies.
Oh, it wasn't werewolves, but it was like tailless cat people.
Yeah.
And there were also dinosaurs in like a Jurassic Park thing. And they had horses, but they were like triple jointed.
Oh, gross.
And I think had like 6 legs.
Yeah, something like that.
Kind of like the Avatar movie.
That one specifically, yeah.
But they're it's kind of like the Avatar movie, except they're not all one blue color. They're all like I know they're black ones, but I'm not sure. They might have been all black cat things.
And a lot of the worlds in that series was real creative as well. You get ones like that. You get Earth, obviously. You get a world covered entirely by ocean.
Yeah, there's a world entirely by ocean. But yeah, it has as one book is he's teleported to a land that's completely an ocean, so it's kind of like Subnautica, I guess.
I think that one was book 2.
Yeah, it was. That is mine number 4. That's Dragon. I would give it a read because I am very bad at explaining.
Well, this is the second time you've brought it up on these podcasts, so I definitely need to check them out.
What about your number 4, Yjui?
My number 4, the book series is called Tree of Ages. It's an 8-book series of high fantasy novels written by Larissa Rothel, I think is her name. I don't know any if she's written any other books or not, but I've read all 8 of these. They were published like 2015 through 2021. And the books themselves, they follow a girl named Finn. And at the start of the novels, like at the very start, she's like a tree, and she's lived in this forest for like years. Doesn't remember if she had a previous life or not, but then eventually she gets turned into a human and kind of has to navigate this world and end up like thrust in the mix of like a giant war that's breaking out. But it's a pretty good world, like universe. It's kind of like, I guess you could, it sounds generic when you talk about it because it's got mages, like fey creatures, like that kind of high fantasy.
Ooh.
They're fun reads, and there's 8 books, so there's like a lot of it, and it gives it a lot of time to really build the story and the universe and their world.
What was that called again?
The series is called Tree of Ages.
Ooh. I think the love of fantasy stems from how boring our world is.
Yeah, I traced mine back to Final Fantasy.
Yeah, that's a good game series.
That's the first time I remember being confronted with any kind of fantasy was with watching you play 9.
Oh yeah, I love the card games.
They look fun.
I don't think I ever actually beat 9 or Hades.
I like it a lot. I've beaten it.
I watched you do that. I don't know. I stopped playing at some point. I don't remember why. Oh God, I'm sorry. We're talking about Final Fantasy now, but real quick, there is Final Fantasy 7. There is an edited file of Final Fantasy 7 that makes it a lot harder than what that it is. Different item placements and things. It sounds really cool. I want to do that one time.
And you could always stream it when you get ready to stream.
Yeah, I plan on going through the first ones as a slow series, including the Mario games. But yeah, the Tree, Yjui?
Tree of Ages is my number 4.
My number 4, I know Portables listened to a tiny bit of it when I went through my Audible. The Bonewitz series.
Oh, that was the book series I wasn't sure had more than one book, because I looked it up and I only saw one book.
Yeah, they call it the Bonewitz series. Each book has a different name, and they don't say they're part of a series. But it is at least a trilogy. I'll pull it up on Audible real fast. But it's at least a trilogy of books.
That would have been my number 5 if I knew that.
On Audible, they call it the Bonewitz, just was what the series name is. And it has 3 books in it. So yeah, it's a trilogy. But pretty much, the main character is a young girl who is discovered to have magic. and it's a whale type of magic. I believe like death type bone magic, like necromancy type stuff. What's he gets training for? There's like only a couple with that kind of power nowadays, and they're tasked with like healing people, repairing stuff, and getting rid of corrupt spirits and whatnot.
I read the first book. I would at a certain point in the first though, it's a little slow for me though.
Yeah, I will say the first book is a little slow because it goes over like whole take into the place where she's being taught about the magic and whatnot. But it's also all added, splashed in as well as a thing because she's telling the story to someone else of her past, and it's years later and she seems to be doing some kind of dark magic, and it's not really told why early on or anything like that, and it slowly leads into it. But you get to see her as like a young hopeful child all the way becoming what she becomes. So that's my number 4, the Bone Witch trilogy.
Did you talk about how the magic works?
It faded in my memory a bit. I've read a lot of books since then.
They write the magic symbols in the air.
Yeah, they write the magic symbols in the air. Yeah. If you have any other cover more than what I said, you can, because like I said, it's been a bit for me.
Bone witches are pretty much necromancers-ish. And she finds out she's a bone witch by accidentally like bringing back her brother. Or was it her brother? It was someone related to her.
Yeah, I think it was her brother.
Like accidentally doing that would be like the worst.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, he's dead and she's like crying and like she wills him back. And it is actually him. They also have to want to come back. So he willingly wanted to come back. And he stays with her for a while to protect her throughout things too.
Wait, I completely forgot about him.
Wow!
Wow! Yeah, I remember, now that you've mentioned him, I remember him now, but I completely forgot about him. Yeah, that's my number 4, the Bone Witch trilogy. Sai, who are you voting for?
Honestly, I was so dead set on picking you, Jesus, because fantasy studied in trees and what. No, damn it! I have to pick the Bone Witch.
Okay, what about you, Yjui?
I think I will also go the Bone Witch, and it's totally not because I don't want to tie. No, if I was being serious though, I think the Pendragon, it's been brought up more than once on this podcast, so it must be pretty solid, and everything I've heard is up my alley, I feel like, so I definitely need to check that out.
And my vote would also be for Pendragon.
Oh, you dodged a tie anyways.
Yep, does that, because I, like with...
I don't know what I was, in my head I was like, there's no way to not tie, but I forgot that you hadn't voted, I guess.
Because in my head as well, but same with Portable, is I've read Pendragon and I know I like it and whatnot.
I like trees and fairies, and I assume magic.
Yeah, definitely like trees and fairies, but still want to message the name later so I can remember them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so Portable, bring us in with your number 3.
My number 3 is the Game of Thrones series.
I was wondering if that'd be on anyone's.
I mean, I love the movies, and I love the books, because it does have a lot of stuff that it did not have in the movies. But, like, that's understandable. It's a very long, very big book series.
It's just bothering me. It was a TV show, not movies.
TV show, sorry. Each episode is like an hour long or so I guess it felt like that.
And I've liked what I've read of the first book of it. The biggest annoyance I have with it was every chapter was a different point of view.
Yeah, I'm not actually, I know it, like, enough of it just through like pop culture and like osmosis of just absorbing that kind of stuff, but other than that I don't know very much about.
Yeah, when I first started Game of Thrones, like, I was put off by how often it switched perspectives between each person. You know, I'm used to, like, a main character speaking. And even with Pendragon, where it would switch between the letters and friends talking. Like, I still knew the main story was him and going through those 10 other worlds. And him sending those letters and reading his adventures. But Game of Thrones goes from person to person, like, God, there's so many people. And at first I was like, I don't like this. But then I developed this sense of, oh, some of these are my favorite characters, I can't wait to get back to them again. You know, like, you find your favorite characters and then they die.
That's my issues. When I find a favorite character, that's the only person I want to hear from.
But I had like a few favorite characters in that. And even the ones that weren't my favorite, like, were interesting to watch from perspectives. Or read.
Yeah, so for me, the whole point of view changing works better in the show format than it does the book format, just because I don't like jumping around a lot with that kind of stuff when reading.
Yeah, and this also has, I like, and magic in the Game of Thrones world seems so much more subtle. There's no fireballs being flung out. There are some dragons, but like for magic, it's like rituals have to be performed, and it's more subtle and not like direct. There's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's not even like talked about that much. But at one point there is this woman who like uses a shadowy monster, and how she makes that thing is kind of icky. And I think she'll only do it once per bloodline or something. I don't know. But like magic is not. It's like a lost art sort of thing. That is not the main. Not the main way to win wars. Pretty much. You still need a lot of people.
I was gonna say, from the first book and half of what I read of the second book, it seemed war was very much medieval-like.
Yeah, it's pretty medieval-ish. Still, like, well, the dragons definitely take a freaking powerful stand on the side that they're on.
Oh, they're coming. Oh, the dragons are coming.
Frontier is coming. What else to say, really? A lot of interesting characters, medieval setting, a lot of plot twists, a lot of cool plot twists. And I'm not even sure if they have an. Do they have an end to the books yet? But I'm pretty sure.
That was what I was going to bring up. There's still like 2 books to come out.
And we're not even sure if they're going to come out because the creator is like ill or something, right? Old, right? I think.
He's definitely older. He's like, well, older. I say he's like 50 something, I think, to 60 something. But if he's ill, I haven't heard of that, but it wouldn't surprise me. I know that's been like a big joke, is that he's gonna die before he ever finishes the books, because the last book in the main series that came out like in the early like 08 or something like that.
He's 74.
Oh, he's a lot older than I thought he was.
Yeah, I just looked it up. I would have guessed in the 50s as well, but I didn't know much about George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, it's been a good long time since he's released one of the main series books, because he's like done like he's doing like a sub-series of the Targaryens now.
You said aliens or something?
Targaryens, it's a family in the.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. I didn't think you said aliens, but that's the only thing my right brain would like register it as. But it being a name makes sense.
Yeah, any more to add, Sai, before we swap over to Yuji's number 3?
Nope, that's it.
Yuji, you're number 3.
My number 3 is book series named Frontlines. It's an 8-book series of like future space age military. It's a novel published. 2013 was the first book, and the last book came out in 2022. But I believe it's still an ongoing series. So the books, when they take place in 2108, I guess. And you start off in an overpopulated Earth, where the main protagonist of the novels, a guy named Andrew, is in like this cramped city. Like they're given rations, and like it's just like 2,000 calorie brick of soy. Like everybody's like dealed out. It's like really like a slum pretty much. Like Earth is not in a good situation. So to get out of his living situation, he enlists in the military. And as the books go on, as he goes through like his basic training and whatnot, it's all like space, like in spaceships, and they're traveling between colonies. But eventually he gets put on the front lines of a war with an unknown race of giant aliens. They're like multiple stories tall aliens that have just started attacking the human colonies, and they don't have any way of communicating with the aliens. They're just like this really threatening, like lumbering giants that are just coming through and eating people, and they have no idea why. They have no way of communicating with them. So as the series goes on, it kind of like shows how the humans are adapting, how their technology is adapting around trying to fight these giant aliens. And it's really good. Gives a lot of Halo vibes. Is why I think I click with it so much. I would have put Halo probably on this list, but I kind of left it off because I see it more as a game franchise first.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's my number 3.
Yeah, you keep bringing ones that I have never heard of.
Yeah, I don't think like when I talk about them live, I don't find, unless I like go on a specific spot where I know people have read these books. I've not actually come across anybody in the wild that's read them as well.
I was gonna say, this is like so far you're 3-on-3 of me not having heard of your series.
Well, I can almost guarantee you've heard the next ones.
Awesome.
But that's my number 3 for now, so you can bring us in with your number 3.
Okay, my number 3 is one that I know Yuji's read and is currently reading a spin-off of, Tales from the Gas Station.
Yeah.
It's a comedy horror series with a main character who has insomnia and doesn't sleep at all. Like, according to him, he's got a fatal type of insomnia that will eventually kill him, and he can't sleep, period. And he works at a gas station on the edge of town, and weird crap keeps happening, and it's played up like, is it actually happening, or is just sleep-deprived brain really just making him think this kind of stuff's happening? Comedy all like there's little demon things called Akiaks that keep coming back. Or like the very opening scene is like someone comes into the store and I think trades like fortune telling for a map of the area, and he ends up getting robbed shortly after, and it's heavily implied that there's a monster in the forest and whatnot. But it's just like, what if it's actually happening and what if it's not? This can be hilarious at times.
Yeah, it's got like a certain brand of humor that I've not seen in any other books. It's really like it like takes itself just seriously enough that you believe it the whole time you're reading, but like it's any other situation you'd be like absolutely not. This is obviously not being serious.
There's also, at least with the first book, there's a cultists in the forest and the commune that call themselves, what was it, the mathematists?
Yeah.
And one of the people from there, the main character doesn't know his name and just keeps referring to him as Marlboro because that's the type of cigarettes he buys. And that is a hilarious character to me.
Yeah, he's probably like in my top characters of like any series, really. Especially side characters. One of my favorite quotes from that guy, and probably not my favorite, but I just read it last night, so it's in my brain. Is I forget the name of the guy, but there's a guy that they obviously all hated, and one character said, "You can go fuck yourself," and then Jerry goes, "No, because that sounds like it'd be too much fun. You know what? You can go shit yourself."
I forgot about that line, but yeah, that's a great one. But yeah, it's my number 3, Tales from the Gas Station. So, portable, which one do you?
You like the space one? I did not expect that, actually.
I don't read stuff about that often. I'm usually on Earth, but some of the stuff is like I want to go out and into that.
Yeah, I definitely like. That's probably one of my favorite genres as well. My vote would go for Zoth because I'm actually currently reading those books, and I think they were actually my number 6. They barely missed the list.
I was wondering if they'd show up on your list at all or not. And sadly, I'm going to be creating a tie because I'd have to go Game of Thrones because for the most part, sci-fi is not really my thing. I have like very few sci-fi franchises in any media.
No, that's fair.
So I'd be interested in giving it a shot, but just because sci-fi and I have experience with Game of Thrones, I have to go Game of Thrones.
No, I think you would know if you liked it. It's pretty like sci-fi military is pretty much it's him going through the military and like his time in the military. So I feel like if you know you don't like that kind of stuff, you're definitely not gonna click with it.
I'd still be willing to give it a try. You never know.
Yeah.
For the purpose of the podcast, I'd have to go Game of Thrones.
I think the one thing that might catch you is that the alien race is pretty interesting.
Awesome.
Alright, Portable, you can go ahead and bring us in with your number 2.
My number 4 is, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but is it Q de Freak?
I've been calling it Circuit du Freak.
Circle, square, triangle de Freak.
It's like French for circus or something like that.
Circus de Freak? Oh, that's nice. I never really looked it up before. But yeah, that series, I think, has like 10 books.
Yeah, it's got like 9 to 11 books. I can't remember exactly how much.
Right. It starts with another young man with his friend who go to the carnival, and they're mesmerized by the weird things that the carnival troupe can do. And I think there is a werewolf, or is it just a really hairy dude?
They at least call it a werewolf, and it seems to be very werewolf-like, but it doesn't ever shapeshift back.
Yeah, I guess. I think he bites someone's hand off or something.
Book 2.
But like he's only shown up like very shortly. Anyway, the boy and his friend they see this amazing show, and then through some weird twisted events, they're entranced by the ringleader. Some things go down, and well,
it was more the main character was more entranced by the spider.
Well, no, the spider, but like there was like a pool to Mr. Cribsley,
something like that. Cribsley.
Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, Mr. Krabs. Sorry, feeling it.
Well, there was a spider and everything, but in the end, like, it turns out he's a vampire, and, well, more cooler kind of vampire.
He don't sparkle.
And through some events, like, he turns the boy into one as well, and has to follow him around on an adventure type deal. But vampires age very, very slowly, so, like, he's stuck as a kid for a long time.
Yeah, he really is, like, a kid for most of the books, and when, like, 10, 15 years have passed, and he's still in the body of a child.
Yeah, there's a lot of adventures, there's fighting, it gets really weird towards the end of the books. Like, your mind will get blown of things that you did not expect. I did not expect the plot twist either.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good series. Don't watch the movie.
Do not watch the movie. Do not watch the movie. They throw the ending right in there, like they did not care.
Yep.
It was not gonna be a series of movies. It was just gonna be that. They knew it.
Yeah, pretty much. They tried cramming like the first book and the last book in the one movie.
Gee, it's bad enough when you try to cram one book into a movie.
Yeah, so it butchers it horribly. And spoils some of the big twists as well.
But that's not my number 4.
I think we're up to 2.
Me too. Number 2. Sorry. I read my list up backwards and my brain switched for a second.
Ah.
That was my number 2.
Yjui, your number 2.
My number 2 is going to be the Percy Jackson and the Olympians. That's what the series is called. It's a series of 5 fantasy novels written by Rick Riordan. They were published 2005 to 2009. In this book, this takes place in a world where the Greek gods still exist, but it's modern time. And instead of Mount Olympus, they are all located in New York. The main character is Percy Jackson. He's a young boy who discovers that he's a demigod. So he gets sent to a camp that's full of all the other demigods. Yeah, and the books just send Percy and his friends on different missions that eventually lead to him needing to stop Kronos from letting all the Titans out of Tartarus. It's a pretty fun read.
I think he's working on a new book too, in the same universe.
Yeah, I know he's done like Norse mythology, like a similar series in Norse, but yeah, that would be awesome if he made another book in this series.
Yeah, I think specifically he's working on a new Percy Jackson book. Isn't Amazon making a so too?
Yeah, hopefully they actually do it right, because like most of the times the books are way better than the movies, but the movies for Percy Jackson were exceptionally not great.
I'll say my wife has read the books, I have not, but I actually just bought the other week a 5-pack of the books from Walmart.
They're really good. And they're teen fiction, so they're nice quick reads.
So that's your number 2 is
Number 2.
Percy Jackson and the Olympians.
Yep. So I can bring us into your number 2.
Watch the movie.
You get a little bit of it, but the books are definitely way better.
My number 2, which coincidentally also has an Amazon series. The Bill Hart trilogy, which is written by Stephen King. Mr. Mercedes, Finders Keepers, and End of Lots. This one opens with a guy who pretty much there was like a job fair going on in town. In the city they had like records unemployment that went on. A lot of people were gathered there, and someone stole a Mercedes and ran it through the crowd. And there's a bit of time skip. The main character is a now retired cop, but the final case he was on was what they call the Mr. Mercedes killing, and he's upset because he's pretty much like depressed, all in his own head, because he was never able to solve his final case. And that's when he gets a letter taunting from the killer about how he's never caught him and all that stuff, where the killer's trying to goad him into suicide, and instead it reignites his flame to figure out who the killer was. And the first book's all about him figuring it out and trying to solve the case. One thing I find really hilarious in this, it came out before the It remakes, but I'm pretty sure he referenced that they were going to be making new It movies in it, because he talks about like passing a billboard that's advertising some movie with a monstrous clown thing.
That's pretty funny.
And it's all about him solving cases and whatnot. That's my number 2, the Bill Hodge trilogy.
The original It movies scared me more than the remakes.
Yeah, I think they're both good.
The more recent remakes of It, like, I just laughed at, because he just like spasms his body in a way that's like really funny,
He is a clown.
like in ways that me and my brothers did back when we were kids. It wasn't that scary to me.
Yeah, I like them both.
But the original was more subtle and scary, terrifying.
What do you vote for? Portable.
GG's?
So that's one for Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Yjui, who do you vote for?
When I read books, I do tend to skew towards horror, so Stephen King is the king of horror novels, so I'm gonna go with it.
Cool. Well, I'll say this one's more of a crime thing and not necessarily full-on horror.
Oh, see, that's the problem then, because I am very known around my house for disliking cop shows.
Yeah.
So I now switch my answer over to Circa de Freak.
Yeah, I'd say there's not really much, like, it's more thriller cop stuff. There is some supernatural in it, but it's put more towards the back burner.
Well, that in mind, I would go Circa de Freak because
it would make such a good series, man.
If given a proper
If
treatment,
it was
then it
given,
got.
I'm so bad at describing these these book series, but like God, it would be a good series.
It definitely would be. Yeah, and that I also vote for Circa de Freak, making that our number 2.
All right, Team Edward. I mean,
just for that, I'm gonna have to I abstain. What's your number 1?
Oh, mine.
Yep.
Well, unfortunately, I'm overlapping again with my previous list because it is the best book series I've ever read. Aragon: The Inheritance Cycle.
I was wondering when that would show up on your list.
Yep, I enjoyed it the most. Even though like these books you could just pick up from like your school's library. It's just a really good series. A farm boy finds a dragon egg that kind of like meteorites near him. He tries to sell it, tries to eat it. Nothing really works, so he at night he sleeps and the dragon hatches, and well, he meets it. A bond is formed without him knowing. That passes.
I had to interrupt you really quick because you described him as a farm boy, and now all I'm seeing is Rolf from Ed,
Life has many doors, Ed boy. But yeah, Rolf but riding a dragon.
Yeah, that's amazing.
As he's going across the sky.
Yeah.
Now I have to imagine that too. Thanks for putting that image in my mind.
You're
ruining my books now.
I think it's better.
I was just saying, I think that's an improvement. Anything with Ralph as the main character is an improvement.
Also, I don't watch the movie as well. It pains me to say that because like it has animation and all that, but it also like throws in ending plot twist stuff. So yeah. Read the books. But that egg hatches and has this little baby dragon that he's bound with. Dragons have been extinct for a long time, by the way. So this is supposedly the last dragon. So he feeds it, he puts it in the woods, like on a tether, and feeds it. Eventually it gets big enough to hunt for itself. I think the village gets attacked, and he has to set off with is this kind of old man named Brahm, who teaches him that he can now use magic because of he's bonded with a dragon, and he's training that, and he has to overthrow this evil king who has dominated the land like for over 100 years, who's stayed alive for quite a long time. I think that's the best I've described a book so far. Magic is definitely more direct, my favorite kind of magic system ever in like anything. You have to learn a magical language and also like touch into the magic inside of you. Take that as you will.
Oh, yeah.
I will.
Everything has a true name. That name is the ancient language as well, and you say it in a sentence sort of in strings to do the effect that you want. If you're not careful, you could die. If you get something wrong, something happens unintentionally the way you wanted it to. Once you cast a spell, it has to go through all the way until it finishes. So like you'll feel the energy draining you until it's over. So you'll watch yourself slowly die if you do if you command something to greater than what you're capable of currently.
It's a risk I'd be willing to take.
It's not a good way to go, but I think it's such a good balance of a system.
It definitely sounds like an interesting magic system.
Yeah, it's a really awesome magic system. Eventually they do a lot more crazy things. He has more and more energy, I guess you could say. But yeah, dragons, swords, magic, adventure, and some plot twists along the way. Aragon: The Inheritance Cycle is like the best book series I've ever read, really. But I'm also a sucker for like fantasy.
Okay, so size number 1, Aragon: The Inheritance Cycle. What about yours, Yjui?
My number 1 is going to be Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. It's a 2-book series written in 1865 and 1871. I'm sure most people already know what Alice in Wonderland is, but it's basically a girl. She follows a rabbit and stumbles into the hole that it goes down, and she ends up in like this like whimsical, weird drug trip of a world where she finds like talking animals and things are just not like how they're supposed to be. And it's just mostly the books are just her fumbling her way through this new land. And then the second book, she ends up in the mix of trying to stop the Red Queen from doing whatever the Red Queen is doing, the Queen of Hearts. I really didn't have anything written down to describe Alice in Wonderland. I thought it would just come to me, but I'm just rambling.
Yeah, I mean, that one is definitely a trip.
Yeah.
Because wasn't he also on stuff while writing it?
There's people say that. I don't know if it's ever been like a confirmed thing. I don't know if he's ever actually said it or not, but he actually originally wrote it for his friend's daughter. It was named Alice.
Oh, I did not know that.
Also, one of the things that I really like about especially the original is he definitely didn't do the artwork for it, but there's illustrations and stuff in the original books, the like watercolor illustrations, some of my favorite art.
Oh, awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my number 1.
Would you also recommend the Disney movie?
It's not my favorite adaptation. I definitely prefer the books, but the Disney movie definitely has its place. It's not a bad watch. I'd recommend it, yeah.
What about the Kingdom Hearts adaptation?
No. that guard fight can go suck an egg.
Okay, so Yuji's number one, Alice in Wonderland. My number one, I know you guys have both heard of it. I don't believe Yuji started it yet, and I'm pretty sure Portable never finished it, the first book. The Night Angel trilogy.
Not bad. Oh no. Oh no. That makes me remember
Is
things.
that the book that you gifted me?
Oh,
Yeah, I got it
God.
for you for Christmas recently.
Oh no.
I got you the first book of it.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it is dark fantasy, like dark gritty fantasy. The main character is a street urchin, pretty much a part of a gang because that's the only way to survive. And he's got two friends. One's Doggo, he has like super pristine skin and whatnot, but she can't speak. And the other one, his name's Y'all, and he's pretty much best friend, does everything he can to help him and whatnot. And the main character ends up being apprenticed onto assassin. They have a different name for it, but it's pretty much an assassin with magic. And it becomes pretty much high fantasy political intrigue type stuff, with the main character being trained by what's considered the best assassin of the age. And it becomes convoluted like, fantasy does. It involves, like, wars, revolutions, and whatnot. And the main character trying to help it go the way that he feels it should.
I'm definitely looking forward to cracking into that one.
I would say the books are meaty. They're like 500 plus pages per book.
Yeah, I noticed because I actually you gave me the physical version of it, so usually I read my books digitally on the Kindle, so I don't have any kind of concept of how thick they are when I start. But that book is definitely intimidating just because it's real thick.
But you didn't try the first book, right?
He hasn't tried it
Okay,
yet.
I haven't tried it yet though.
Yeah, I will say it is dark, has mature themes, is why
You
Portal was
tricked
going
me.
no
You tricked me.
earlier.
Darker
You tricked
than
me.
Berserk.
No, not darker than Berserk.
You didn't give me any hint whatsoever. I benefit of the doubt, I read this book you made me read, and I regretted it at a certain part. I didn't want to read that.
Yeah.
He's been trying to get me to read it for probably like years, and then he just finally gifted it to me, so now I have no choice.
At least you have a warning. I didn't have a warning.
To be fair, up until now, I didn't have the warning. You gave me the warning. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you've given him the warning.
Giving you the warning.
Let's see. It is definitely dark fantasy. I would not say as bad as Berserk, but there is one scene really early on that is, let's say early on, it's like probably 50 pages in, which is only because of the size.
Right.
Because that Sai refuses to...
I'm not reading anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Nope. No more.
I remember him telling me he thought about...
I picked Twilight over that, man.
He thought about reading it and finishing it, but he doesn't want to have to start over and relive that scene again.
Yeah, I have to read it again to refresh my memory, but I don't want to read that part again.
Oh dang.
Hey, have the first book on Audible, Sai.
No!
You could listen to it instead.
Oh god, that's awful. Just listen to somebody freaking explain, describe. Jesus.
As you can see, I have scarred Sai with this book.
It was repressed for a long time. I did not remember. I did not remember the book series.
That's like when you sounded happy at first when I said that, and then you started going, no.
I said, oh yeah. Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm very excited because this April he's releasing a new book in the series.
How many books are already out?
Currently, there was the Night Angel trilogy itself and a prequel book about the guy who he becomes the apprentice of. But yeah, this now a new book coming out. It's called like Angel Trilogy Nemesis or something like that.
Right.
And it takes place after the trilogy. I'm super excited for that. It comes out like mid-April, I think. I thought he was finished with it because I read these when I was around 9th grade, 10th grade, somewhere around there.
Takes a long time to write that many pages.
Well, he's done another series in the meantime, which is 5 books long and about the same amount page-wise each book. Yeah, but I also think he had the Night Angel trilogy done before he ever got published because they each came out a month after each other. So like they came out back to back to back pretty much. And I don't know about you, but I cannot write 500 pages in a month. So, hey Sai, what's your vote for number 1?
Well, definitely not yours. Yjui.
My vote, I would have to go. Part of me wants to go Sai because I already have Zoth's book, which I feel like is a weird. I definitely want to read Zoth's book, but I already have Zoth's book, so I'm going to read that book. You know what I mean? I think I'm gonna go with Zoth's book. I think that makes more sense.
Zoth's book.
Is a ninja man. I forget what the name is. I have the book, but it's got a different name than the trilogy.
Yeah, The Way of the Shadow.
Yeah, like I'm physically staring at it. I'm like, I got that book name. I just don't have the trilogy name.
What was your book again, Yjui?
Alice in Wonderland.
I gotta go Alice. Because I've attempted to read Aragon, I've just never gotten into it.
Aw.
It's a classic. It's influenced a lot of things.
It definitely has lasting influence.
I love how dark the original, not nursery rhyme.
Grimm's fairy
Yeah,
tales.
the original fairy tales are all pretty.
I say this thing came out after them, and it's not really dark or gruesome, or at least the first book isn't. For Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, Alice is. It's the original book isn't really like dark. I mean, the queen is lopping people's heads off. You know.
Yeah, honestly, I think the Disney version might actually be darker than the original book,
Probably.
from my memory. Yeah, so, Yjui, what's our definitive list?
Definitive list for the top 5 novel series is number 5 we have the Underland Chronicles. Number 4 we have Pendragon. Number 3 we're gonna need some help. We've got a 3-way tie between Game of Thrones, Frontlines, and Gas Station. So if anybody's read any of those books, has any input, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on the YouTube comments, tell us what you think. But number 2 we have Circuit the Freak, and then number 1 definitive top novel series we have Alice in Wonderland.
Honestly, pretty solid list.
It is a very solid list, actually. And the good thing is I have only read 2 of them, so I got a lot of catching up to do on some good books.
Yeah, definitely. So, Sai, what's our next topic?
Top 5 Pokemon.
Okay, this will be a fun list.
Whooper, 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 whooper.
Look forward to that next time, and hope you all have a good day and stay safe and whatnot.
Hit us with the outro song, Sai.
Bum, 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 bum.